Hi, I'm J. Paul Zimmerman, and you're watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Since July of 2021, Jake and his friends have interviewed professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and many more. Who will they be chatting with in this week's interview? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Happy to be with us. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Deffinbaugh, and today, as always, our co-host, Bixby, and Matt Bingel. How you guys doing?
Doing
good. What's up, everybody? How you doing? Glad you're with us. How you doing, Jakey?
I'm doing great, Matt. Thank you for asking. Chris, what do we have for today?
Yes, again, happy you're here with us, folks. Our guest today has directed your childhood. He has directed a bunch of TV series for Disney Channel and Nickelodeon, from shows like That's So Raven, Good Luck Charlie, Jessie, The Thundermans, a whole bunch of things we're going to talk about today. And here he is, Eric Dean Seaton. Eric, happy to have you here.
Hey guys, how you doing? Honored to be here. How's it going?
Good.
Doing good, thank you.
Doing good.
Absolutely. So for those who don't know you, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
My name's Eric Dean Seaton. I'm a television director. Been directing probably since 2008. Started at Disney Channel, then moved to Nickelodeon, and then eventually a lot of adult shows, Modern Family, Life in Pieces, and got into the amazing Berlanti world and did all the superhero shows. And last year did 2 pilots, Early Edition for CBS, which didn't get picked up. Boo! And Average Joe, which is on BET Plus, got picked up and got like the highest scores ever on Rotten Tomato, and it's a fantastic series. And now I'm just jumping genres, doing Will Trent and a lot of different shows, and having a good time doing it.
Nice.
Great.
Awesome. So what was your background like and how did you grow up?
So my story is kind of strange. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and we were the first Black family in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood. I went to Catholic schools, and my grandparents lived in the rougher area in Cleveland. And when I always tell people, like, well, what's that like? I was like, well, 4 years ago, we sold their house for $11,000, a 4-bedroom house. And so my dad worked out of town, and I just always grew up loving stories. I used to have a paper route for the Plain Dealer, and I had a German Shepherd. And so my dad came home on a weekend one time, and he went on the paper route with me because we didn't have a lot of money and just wanted to hang out. And afterward, he told me I couldn't take my dog anymore. And I was like, why? And it's like, because the entire north side of the street were concentration camp survivors. And here we were with our giant German Shepherd, the dog of their oppression. But they couldn't have been nicer. They told me so many stories, amazing stories, tragic stories about Holocaust. And just from the diverse background, I just grew up loving stories and wanted to be a storyteller, and moved out to California. I didn't know anybody. And my uncle used to play basketball for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh, wow.
No, he was pretty cool. So he smoked, which is bad. So he had emphysema, bronchitis, and asthma. So I took care of him by day and got jobs in the entertainment business at night. But I mean, I was in Orange County. It's not even the place to live if you want to be in Hollywood. And so after about a year, he passed away, sadly. And then I moved up to LA and just started working my way up. And the one good advice I always give people, because someone gave me, was take the road less traveled. So I always picked a lot of shows that were, when ratings were important, were the bottom of the rating barrel, because a lot of people don't want to go there. They want job security. But when you're young and you're trying to make a name for yourself and you want opportunity and experience, it's a great place to get it. And so I ended up doing a lot of shows, luckily moved up pretty quickly, like from PA to assistant director and then ended up at Disney Channel when they were starting That's So Raven. And I kind of knew a lot about visual effects because my roommate worked at a studio and we would watch dailies, and we just kind of like shadowing and just kind of like studying how they did stuff. So I was always helping out all the directors in the episodes, and all those shows at their infancy were always too big with the kid hours. And as the first and probably the main, I did Raven, I did Hannah Montana pilot, and I did Wizard of Waverly pilot. I actually kind of, I mean, they've adjusted it, but kind of created a system and a lot of different tricks and ways to get the shows done within the kid hours. And they were like, do you want to direct? And it's all I ever wanted to do. So I ended up eventually getting my chance to direct and started directing and ADing. And then I actually did this spin-off Korean House. But I ended up stopping assistant directing because they started hiring a lot of newer directors, which is great. But there was a director once that said, oh, he didn't really know what he was doing. And he's like, oh, they said you're going to help me out. And I just thought to myself, yes, I am, of course. But if I could help you out that much that it's trusted, why can't I just do the job myself? And so I decided to stop ADing and became a full-time director and started working my way up from there and just, enjoying the ride.
There you go. There you go.
Nice.
Always enjoying the ride. So before working as a director, you worked as a stage manager for several projects. Can you talk a bit about what a stage manager does and what your work was doing stage managing?
Stage manager is actually essentially really an assistant director. It's the same job. The difference is one's on tape and one's on film or digital. And so things that like the sitcoms, early 2000s, a lot of them were taped shows before they went digital. And so they called it stage manager. But in essence, it was no different job than assistant director. Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, but what they do is you're in charge of the floor. You're the first AD, you're assistant director. You're scheduling and running the floor and making sure the actors know what they're doing and the directors know what they're doing, and just kind of like you're the floor leader. And the better floor leader you are, the better the show runs.
Definitely.
Interesting.
So as you just mentioned, you got to direct a handful of episodes for That's a Raven. What was it like kind of directing that show and working with that cast?
It was a dream come true. To me, it was the perfect training ground to learn how to become a director in multicam. So there's different styles of shows. Those sitcoms are multicam. They're shot with 4 cameras, and so everything happens at once. And if you remember that show, it was always 3 people. It was Raven, Chelsea, and my best friend. I could remember his name, Orlando. And so it was always more cameras than actors. So learning cameras was very great on that show because you were always in control of the scenes. I always tell everybody the way to learn that is if you have more cameras than actors, there's no matter how hard it's going to be, you can get through it. When you have more actors than cameras, that's when it becomes a little tricky. But multicam is basically it's a play, and you're visually shooting a play, like when you go to the theater. So there's a 4th wall, that's where the audience is, and then there's a 3-wall set. So you have 4 cameras. It's called A, B, C, and X. X is because ABC. D sounds like C, so they named it X. And then if you want to learn the history of that, it was originally 3 cameras back in the day of shows like Happy Days and all that. And Gary Marshall changed it when they created Mork and Mindy to 4 cameras. And the reason being is Robin Williams was so funny, he couldn't take a camera off of them because they were missing stuff. And so they added a camera to always keep a camera on the main actor. And the art of multicam is just that. It continued from that. You always keep a camera on the main person. So there was never a time when there wasn't a camera on Raven. There's never a time when there wasn't a camera on Miley, Selena, Demi, on and on and on. You always kept a camera on the main person, because in comedy, it's not just what someone says, it's the reaction to what someone says. And it's about the character. So you always want to know if somebody else says something funny, Raven or whoever's reaction to it. So it was a perfect training ground to learn how to do stuff. And we did stunts, effects, costumes, makeup. She played multiple characters. So we once had an elephant in the set, which was the most bizarre thing in the world because it was bigger than the set. And I remember looking at the trainers, I stood next to this thing and I go, if this elephant gets mad, what happens? She's like, this whole set goes down.
Yeah.
Like, wait,
Sounds
what?
about right.
Like, yeah, there's nothing you can do. And I was like, wow, so it can give you perspective when you see something that big in life, because we just don't, you see it at a zoo, but when you're standing up underneath the leg and you're just looking up and this thing is barely fitting. So it was just a great training ground. We had so much fun. And then it was a time when they did a lot of episodes. There was a year where we did 36 episodes and took a break to shoot a Hannah Montana pilot and the Wizard of Waverly pilot and Sweet Life pilot or Sweet Life on Deck, one of the two, and just kept going. Like, so I went like a year and a half, never had a week off, never, just always was just working. And it was just a fun time. So, and the other thing about those shows is like, there's always a family atmosphere about it. Kid shows are very hard because of the hours that you have, but at 9 o'clock you're done on a Friday night, and everybody go out and drinking and having a good time. So you made a lot of friends. I made a lot of lifelong friends from those shows.
So you mentioned earlier Corey of the House, but you also got to direct the spinoff Raven's Hope. How different was it from That's So Raven to these spinoffs, and what were the big challenges for that?
So much fun to do. The spinoff was very interesting because it was Raven coming back, and I was told her that week, I was like, "You're like a bull in a china shop," because she was so excited, so much energy. And there's a kitchen scene, and early in that pilot, I think it's the first scene of the pilot, and she just wanted to move, and it was just one of those things where I was like, "Then just do it." And we ended up, if you watch the first part of that pilot, they come in. I remember it's in the house. They go to the living room, back to the kitchen, all through the whole thing. It's all one take. It's all one. It's a 14-minute scene that just goes, and we were just flying and did it like a play, kicking the cameras down to the other end for when she comes through the room and all that. And we must have done it 3 times, maybe changed the coverage a little bit, but the whole thing is one thing. So it was fun. It was fun to go back. It was a different world. It was very interesting to watch her. Now she's become a great director, to like see her now work with younger kids, because she started when she was very young, and to see that talent passed on. But I enjoyed it, and Jed and Scott were really great guys, and they really kind of captured a good essence of what the show could be. So it was a fun experience. So.
Definitely. And I know you also directed a number of episodes, some other Disney Channel shows I grew up with, Sunny with a Chance and Good Luck Charlie. What were those shows like?
Sunny was my big break. Sunny was the life changer, because what had happened was Raven and the shows were over, and there was a strike. And then after the strike, I claimed I wanted to be a director, and I was single. Didn't work for a long time, but I was always like studying, still watching the dailies, still doing stuff. And I remember I used to go to the movies every Friday night because I love the movies, still do. And I got a call to come in. I had tickets for movies, and for some reason, I was the universe. I was sitting on the couch, and I didn't get up to go to the movie. I had tickets, didn't get up, and I got a call, and they were like, "We want to know if you want to come in and do Sunny with a Chance." They were just starting the show, 3 episodes in, and usually when you're a new director, you get the writer's assistants episode right before Christmas. They give you a spot. That's like usually a spot where it's like all the up and comings, and the writer's assistants get their shot. The director hasn't directed enough, for a first year show anyway, a lot. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'm around at Christmas. I was gonna go shadow on Desperate Housewives or something. And they were like, no, we're talking about Monday. And I'm like, oh, wait, you're shooting right now. You about to fire somebody? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, oh. So I came in. Yes, I came in on a Sunday, and I was like, and they, to a person, told me that everyone in the room told me the show was something different. And I went from super excited to like really nervous, because it's like they have a great show, but nobody's saying exactly what this show is. And I remember 30 Rock was on that night when I went home, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a disaster. This could be the end of the directing career before it gets started. And I was watching 30 Rock, and I was like, Sunny with a Chance is a show within a show. So I came in that Monday, and I had a list of rules, and I was like, we're gonna show kids and the families a show within a show. So we're gonna walk off the set. We're gonna do walk and talks. We're gonna shoot in the stands. Certain sets would be just the sets, but other than that, you're gonna see that they're made out of thin wood, and we're gonna do these different things. And it worked. And it was a great week, and I got along really well with her, and kind of got her energy, and designed some things, to make her world interesting, because it was her first sitcom and first real show. And she's a fantastic music artist, but working Monday through Friday after you've done concerts on the weekend are kind of hard. So I had a lot of rules, like we wouldn't start with her, and we'd do some of the other storylines first and come around. And so it worked great that week. And then they asked me to come back the next week, and the next week, and the next week. And the next thing you know, I never left. And it just became a great thing. And then ended up doing the sketch show, was a spinoff after she left. And that was great too, because it did music artists. It's funny how many music artists. I have a picture with me and Miguel before he was big, and didn't even realize, like, I was listening to some song, and I was like, wait, that's, so we had like a lot of different, Coco was on there. so many artists, and sketch was fun because I love Saturday Night Live. So it was like doing my own version of Saturday Night Live every week. So it was a really good experience. We even had the Muppets, and that's if you've never, so just so you know, you can never see the Muppets laying down. When they come in, they can only be upright.
Right.
I'm talking and they have to stay active. So this is Miss Piggy. So even while I'm giving notes to her person, she's reacting the whole time. And so half the time you're talking, you're looking at the person and you're looking at Miss Piggy because she's alive the whole time. And so it was awesome. That was an awesome experience.
Definitely. And
So
with Good Luck Charlie, we previously interviewed Eric Allen Kramer.
Yes.
Yes.
Thor,
Love
original
him.
Thor.
Great.
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
How was he?
Oh, he
Yeah.
was
He was
wonderful. We talked a lot
great.
about behind the scenes stuff of the show, and you know
Mm.
how everyone was so sad like on the last day, like when it ended.
Yes.
That was a true family show. I had a really good time the first season and did some creative, interesting. I was very much like all those movies that I would go see, I would kind of bring to like some of the shows I would do, which would, you know, make for some very cinematic and fun stuff. And they had a tree house, and I'll always remember did this 360 coming out of the tree house, and every time I see him, he still talks about that to this day. You know, because he had come, you know, he'd done a lot of big stuff, and this is his first like, you know, family show. And I think he enjoyed that because, yeah, amazing actor. And now you're coming to this family world, you know, playing a father, and you still saw a little cinematic. We could still be cinematic and try some things. So I think he really enjoyed it. So a good guy.
So what was it like, getting to direct Austin and Ally?
That was hands down one of my favorite shows because they are, as advertised, the four of the nicest people you ever want to spend time with. I still have on the last season, they knew it was ending. They autographed scripts for everybody, and they all wrote something personal. And I have like a whole wall sitting on my wall. It's beautiful. But it also is one of the top three most fun experiences I had of something that was crazy. So on a Falte Cam show, you table reads on Monday, you rehearse maybe a little bit. Tuesday, you rehearse and do a run through for the writers. Wednesday, you do a run through for the producers, and you shoot Thursday and Friday. Well, one of the last episodes I did there, actually, it was kind of like a pivotal episode because I kind of really wanted to like branch out and to do other things. That on the Wednesday night, the network exec threw out the script and didn't like it, and waited up all night to get the new script. And come 8 o'clock in the morning, we're starting. There's no script. And so I went in. I remember meeting with the cast, and I was like, "We have no script. It's coming. There's only one scene they kept, the opening scene." I said, "So we're going to do the opening scene, and then we're going to just go scene by scene." And we had 2 days to shoot it, and we'll rehearse in front of everybody. We'll put the cameras on it, and at the end of the episode, they rewrote the episode. They did. Kevin and Heath are brilliant, and they rewrote a brilliant episode where it turned into a birthday. It was Austin's birthday, and they ended up dropping a grand piano.
Oh yeah, I remember that episode.
Now, to tell you how great that crew was, there was no grand piano. None of that stuff that you saw in that episode past the first scene was there. They had to go find a piano and everything. So we shot it in order, and you know, you can only drop a grand piano once. So I ended up shooting it where we faked that we dropped it so I could get all the reaction shots first, everybody running around. And then we had 4 cameras on grand piano. And so it turned out to be one of the true bonding experiences because from the PA all the way to Kevin, he's executive producers, me, everybody in between cast, we were all going scene by scene, moment by moment. Whatever we rehearsed the scene, oh, so we need Band-Aids. We'd run and get those, like whatever we made up, everybody had. And the episode turned out to be fantastic, and it was like a true highlight because you just like all your skills and everybody on the fly. And I would say that everybody in the business is an artist, no matter even the prop person, no matter what jobs they're doing, and you got to see that artistry come to life, and it was amazing, amazing.
So you had brought up Jesse earlier, which co-starred Cameron Boyce, who we sadly lost a few years ago. Could you share any memories from working with Cameron?
Just that he had like a really great energy about him. And you know what's funny? What I most think about him, I think about his parents, because his dad was always there and his dad was a good guy. And I just feel bad for them, and how they must feel, not having him around anymore. I did 2 episodes. It was a group cast, ensemble. So I didn't necessarily spend any particular time with him. I know from Austin Alley, I was the first. Sophia Carson, who's amazing singer, was her first time acting with Austin Alley. I know they became very close, and I still follow her on Instagram and see that she's every year talks about him and all that and everything. But
she's gone on to do some wonderful things too.
yeah, she's awesome. That was her
yeah.
first job. That was her first acting job. She was like a student at UCLA.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's very sweet. So I just remember the parents really well, and I remember his dad, and I just remember, how sad I was for them. But yeah, I mean, he was a great young man. It's just sad when no parent wants to outlive their kids. That much I know.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main thing I kind of like think of, and keep them in prayers and stuff from time to time.
Definitely. So you also direct for some Disney XD series, including the show Kicking It. Can you talk a bit working on that?
Which show?
Kicking It.
Kicking It.
Oh, Kick It! I did the pilot. That was my first pilot after Sunny with a Chance. All the good stuff from Sunny with a Chance led to Kicking It, and I loved karate movies. And the best thing I can tell you about that is Leo, who was the lead, he hadn't really acted. And I remember it was my first pilot. I remember in the audition, the final audition, so they do a screen test. It was Leo and Olivia, and there's another kid. The other kid was a great kid. He's actually more experienced than Leo, and might have been at the time a better actor at the time, right? But after they both did their audition, and afterward, I remember Adam, the editor of the network's like, "Well, Eric, what do you think?" And I said, at the end of the cut, at the end of their rehearsal, Leo walked towards Olivia, and the other young man walked away. And I said, the character is Leo. Like, even if he's not, you don't think he's there acting wise, he is that guy, because he had that moment where he walked towards her and there was a bonding moment, and you could see he was that guy. And then everybody agreed, and that's how he ended up getting it, because I don't know that his audition was actually better, but if you're going for a series, it's not necessarily about the moment of the audition, it's about the character long term and what you can write for and what you can do for it. And I was like, he is that's who he is. So he got it. He did all his stunts. It was amazing. It was an amazing pilot to shoot, because I got to just shoot karate style and 4 cameras, and just really like dove into like things that I grew up watching, Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan or whoever. So I had a great time on the pilot. It was fun. It was a fun show. It was a very big show to do, because we always had those fight scenes and everything. And I might have been, as time went on, I might have been more ambitious than. This one thing about, once you do a pilot, you don't always want to go back and do the show, because you have more time and more money in the pilot. And then when you go back in the series, you don't. And you kind of are still trying to make that art, but they kind of shifted gears into making that product. And so I learned from that, like, you don't necessarily always have to go back. And I went back for a few times. And then after that, it was kind of enough for me, because it wasn't, we couldn't match story creative wise. I couldn't beat what I had already done. So
yes, Kicking It is a great show, and I know you only directed for just one episode of that show, but you also got to direct an episode for Crash and Bernstein of the Monkey Business episode.
Yes,
that's fun.
Yeah.
Because puppets, like, I loved it. I had a good time. And Eric, the creator, he's a good guy. I didn't get to spend a lot of time. The only time I worked with him was that one time, but he's a good dude. So,
and Tim, the guys who
puppeteer. So you also got to briefly direct the Imagination Movers for an episode. What was it like kind of working with them?
That was great. That was my official first single cam for Disney Channel. I got to go to New Orleans, which I hadn't been before, and was fun. And I liked them. They were really good guys. And my friend Joe Menendez, amazing director, was the producing director on it. And I remember I shot in a style that he hadn't kind of seen before, because I didn't cut really. I just kept like redoing everything, and we kind of like plowed through. And I remember going, that was interesting. I've never seen it done that way and all that. And so it was like the greatest compliment, because here's somebody who's directing work I look up to, and like, he done some great stuff. And I was like, oh, that got a little something he hadn't done. So yeah, Imagine was fun. That's fun.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, amazing show. I remember,
Wonderful show.
we remember watching it. We watched that show a lot on Playhouse Disney.
Yeah, and
Disney,
Scott Durbin, who's one of the Imagination movers, he's a good friend and also a previous guest of ours.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Yes,
Nice.
he's amazing.
Great
Definitely.
guy.
Absolutely wonderful.
All of them are just great. They're so
Oh, yeah.
talented. They really are.
Yeah.
And Wendy Callio too.
Wendy
Yep.
Callio, Kevin Carlson, who did Warehouse Mouse on the show,
Mhm.
he was a previous
Yep.
guest.
Yes,
That
wonderful
was a
people as always.
fun group, very quirky and in a good quirk
Yes.
though.
Yes.
Yes, good quirky. Yes,
Definitely.
absolutely.
But they were bringing something to it. They were bringing that comedy, so you had to like be on your toes.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Kept you on your toes, which is always good. Moving on to your work with Nickelodeon, you directed a couple episodes of The Haunted Hathaways. What was working on that show like?
It was fun. It was different. I loved it. I loved my time at Nickelodeon. I actually did a bunch of pilots for them. I don't know that any of them got picked. Well, I know they didn't get picked up, but Nickelodeon was a great experience for me because when I kind of left Disney and did Nickelodeon, they only knew me as a director. I'd never come up from there. So it's kind of different when you leave your house and people only know you for what you are. Haunted Hathaways was fun. Cast was sweet. Creators were good. A lot of fun things that I was using fun so much as an analogy. I'm trying to think of like any particular like adventures. It was a good show. I just had a good time with everybody. It was a good show.
Awesome. And you also do like a bunch of episodes for Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. What was it, kind of get to directing?
That became my second
podcast?
home. That became my biggest second home.
Yeah, because that was another family show.
It was that show. Those boys, the Nicky Ricky. That was a lot. That was a hard show to do because they were all different personalities, but not in a hard negative way. Just in a lot of you had like a lot of things going on. I'm still friends with a couple of them, and Lizzie. I see her. I saw her. We were in Vancouver at the same time when I was doing a lot of the superhero shows, and she was on Million Little Things, and so all the kids up there, they kind of hang out, so we would always talk through them and all that. It was a good show, a fun show. So a lot. I think I did like 19 episodes of that show. It was a lot. So it was a good show.
Absolutely. And I know
The
another
hardest part was, I'll tell you, so I
Yep.
have to say, so we, and the end of the hardest part of that show, if you read in the script, the quads enter, because that's what we call them, the quads. And they're just them walking in a room, just getting the ridiculous. So at the wrap party, there's a blooper reel of 2.5 minutes of them just trying to walk into a room, uncut. And so Michael Feldman, the creator, you have to see it. And that that sports place that they owned, I forgot the name of it, whatever.
Yeah.
Them walking
Yeah.
in 2.5 minutes, uncut. Just them trying to walk in. You hear me, you hear them trying, bumping into each other, starting over, everything. And so when I hired directors, he would tell them, he goes, the hardest part of your job is when you see in the script, the quads enter. Getting the four of them on the same page was a job within a job.
Sounds like it.
You have to see. I hope one day that that video can that blooper can be found or shown, or they show it somewhere, because it's hilarious. And what they did, they put a timer at the bottom so you can see, because you're like, is this one more than one take? It's like, no, one take, 2.5 minutes.
That's great. That's great. And on the subject of family shows, you also directed one of my favorite more modern Nick shows, The Thundermans.
That was another
Yes.
homework. So Thunderman, so I was supposed to do it sooner, but I did the pilot to Mighty Med. So Jed, the creator, not very nice guy, but he did not want anybody from the other superhero show. So I had to wait a season or two to come in, and then once I got there, I was doing them all the time and had a good time. Loved the Thundermans. Thundermans was for me, Nickelodeon's Austin and Alley, where you had a wonderful cast, wonderful creators, wonderful people, wonderful producer. The producer, Patty Gary Cox, was a really close friend, and she was like one of the catalysts to hire me to become a director. She's on Raven, so I had a lot of fun on that show, and it was superhero. I love superheroes, so it was a good show. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And
Yes,
that show's
absolutely.
actually coming back as a movie, which I think is
Yeah,
cool.
they're doing a movie, and my buddy Trevor is directing it, who's an amazing director. And he's directing, and they're directing it as a multi-cam movie, so I'm excited to see it because they did a movie that the great Jonathan Judge, who's another great director, did, but he shot it like a movie. But this, they're kind of just taking the show and doing it as a multi-cam movie. So I'm interested to see what Trevor did with it because he's very creative. So I'm interested to see like how that I'll have the laugh track, everything. They have all the stuff in it. So it'll look like the show, just a 2-hour episode or a 90-minute episode.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, looking forward to that.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yep, very interesting to
Cannot
see
wait.
it
Cannot wait for that.
ourselves. Mm-hmm. So more of your recent directing projects include Blackish, as you mentioned, and Grodish. What's it like working on those shows, and how different is it from, say, like Disney and Nickelodeon?
Oh, very different because the adult themes and all that. Grownish was the perfect thing for me to do first because, as I was saying, I used to try to bring all that cinematic stuff to Disney and Nickelodeon, and Grownish just sets you free. Kenya's requirement is creativity and be hip, and so I got to really like do some of the things I wanted to do on that show. And then Blackish is such a standard, great comedy that was fun to do that. It became a whole run because I ended up doing Modern Family, which I loved, and Life in Pieces, and a lot of comedy. And you're working with some brilliant writers who talk about the theory of a joke, which was different for me. And it was kind of like at the same time you're doing the skills, and now you're talking about why these skills work. But that was great. They were really good experiences. And then I brought a little. Even when I did Blackish, I remember they had an episode where the mayor of LA was in it, and Tracy and Anthony were having a dance and talking, and I turned it into a 360, kind of giving it a different feel, which I got a note that they really liked. They liked that I didn't try to do it standard. So I was like, oh, okay, good.
Definitely. I know
Yeah.
you also directed the Goldbergs, which starred another actor that we kind of recently lost, George Segal. What was it like working with him?
Well, I mean, he was an amazing person, had some amazing stories. It was an honor to work with him, a legend, and really cared about people. I loved doing the Goldbergs. Tell you a fun story. So when Goldbergs, after COVID happened, Goldbergs was the first sitcom back, and I was doing the first episode. We were doing airplanes. I spent on airplane, and so airplane in the '80s, everybody was sitting close together, and so because of COVID, I was like, well, let's put stand-ins as the other for the actors as the other people on the plane and dummies. So if you ever watch the episode, everybody in the back is a dummy, and to tell you how like you take as a director, you take things from one and you go to another. 8 months later, I was doing The Flash, and we were doing a car chase on the viaduct in Vancouver, which is this bridge, and we had all these cars, and if the stunts are going to be driving, you need to put stunt people in every car. Well, we couldn't afford to do that, and I was like, well, let's put dummies in every car. So with that idea, and so the whole street, the whole highway is cars and dummies all the way along there, and you can't tell, and it worked perfect. And it's just like there's one thing about like for all your fans who want to get into directing is that your skills, people don't they one about directing is they only want to hire you for what you've already done. But what you already done is what makes you a good director because you can take those skills and apply them. Here, I got dummies in a plane on a comedy. I got dummies in a car on a drama, and it works perfectly. So it was a very fun experience doing Goldbergs, and the cast was great. Wendy, amazing, just an
Oh yeah.
amazing, cared, fun, all of them, the whole cast, they were very nice, and the crew too. I've been very lucky that a lot of these shows you guys are mentioning, they were all had like good family shows and or the people made good family core values.
Yes.
Oh
Really
yeah,
about the show is
absolutely.
that it's always call it a fractured family because you're a family and you become close for 4 or 5 years or however long the show is on. And then it breaks up and you may not see those people again. You may work with them on another show. You may never work with them again, but you become very close during that time, and then it ends. I guess like high school, like you close and then you graduate and you go on. So it's
Yep,
kind of like,
absolutely.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah, and the cool thing about the Goldbergs is that was kind of the creator Adam Goldberg, that was kind of loosely based on his own childhood too, which I thought was really cool
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah. Every episode in the 80s and his and I guess it's his stories are even wilder than the show. I think someone told me they toned it down for the show. Like mom is even wilder in real life. So
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes. So since we're getting close to wrapping up, are there any words you'd like to say to those who have been supported and followed your career over the years?
I'm sorry, kind of broke up. Any words I want to
Any words you'd like to say to those who have supported your career over the years?
thank you. I'm honored. I hope that all the stuff that I've done has helped entertain you and things that you can remember. And there's some moments and stories that you are holding dear. And for anybody that's gone on to direct or do whatever, I hope there's some moments that you're reusing, because I remember reusing a lot of different things that I grew up on, movies or TV shows and stuff. So I hope that I have something that's gone full circle.
Absolutely. So,
Mhm.
if people would like to connect with you, what's the best place people can find you?
Oh, you can go on my website. I'm on graphic novels, my character, Legend of the Mantamaji. If you go on that and check out the short, and then and hit me up and let me know that you liked it or didn't like it, or buy the books and all that, and you can see me through there. That's usually like the best way.
Awesome. And links to that will be in the description down below for people to connect.
Yep.
Awesome.
So the last question that Matt's about to ask is a question we ask all of our guests at the end. Go ahead, Matt.
Thank you, Chris. This podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of? Or in your own words, how do you define the word nostalgia?
By TV show or just in general?
Just in general.
Just in general.
Nostalgia to me is a remembrance of how you felt when you saw something.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm having this a lot lately because I have kids. I'm always remembering like the shows that they watch versus the shows that I watched when I was a kid, and I miss that. I love streaming, but I miss that when I was a kid, we watched this. Everybody's watching the same thing during the summer or during the winter, or on a Tuesday night we were all watching Buffy or something. You know what I mean? Like I miss that we had that thing. You kind of have it for a minute when Game of Thrones was on, but I love the show The Night Agent. I thought it was brilliant. And I haven't found enough people that watched it at the same time I did that could experience, you know, what it is. I just finished One Piece and loved it. And I miss that. So nostalgia to me is that what I was saying about like remembering how things made you feel.
Absolutely. Great words,
it's like TV specials.
thank you.
It's like TV specials. If you miss them, you missed them. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there was no like.
And now there's all these streaming services and stuff.
Yeah,
Like you literally
it's
watch
crazy.
it like you watch it again for holiday or something. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, we've been
It's
doing
crazy.
that. We've been doing all the. I started at COVID, but we've been watching all the. I just watched Crocodile Dundee the other day. Like, like we've been doing like pick a week. Each week we pick an old something to watch to bring back, and I do always remember where I was when I saw it and how I felt.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
That's
That's
part of the thing
great.
for me. It's like showing it for them, but for me, it's remembering like, oh, I saw this at the theater, and this is the theater I saw it at, and I was watching this when this happened, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, we absolutely do moments like that. Like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
we do stuff like that. You know.
Yeah. Well, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview with us. This was a blast.
Yes, and thank you very much, for what you've done over the years to be a part of our lives. Keep up the great work and kind of what's next in store for you, especially with upcoming projects that whenever you can allow talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored to have done the show. Check out Average Joe if you're old enough. It's a really great series that you're gonna love. It premieres it's on Amazon. The first 2 episodes for free right now, and it's on Paramount Plus starting September 18th. Check out my graphic novel, Legend of the Mantamaji. It's a great series. I hope I get to do it as a real series one day, and continue watching the shows. Will Trent, all the DC superhero shows, and hope to see you guys. And honored that you check out anything that I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course,
pleasure.
man.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Eric. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll let your agent know when this goes up.
Awesome. Please, I can't wait to see it. So, thank you
right.
guys.
Yes,
really
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes,
likewise.
absolutely. Bye, Eric.
Likewise.
All right.
Yeah. See ya.
Yes, it's goodbye from us as well, everybody who absolutely enjoyed our time with Eric Dean Seaton. The shows he worked on, whether it's Disney Channel or Nickelodeon, we grew up watching that. It's, a big part of our childhoods. But in the meantime, keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. And as always, what do we say, Jake?
Keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show interview. Be sure to follow Jake and the crew on social media and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.